Voices from the ghetto. Crying, 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 crying. Voices from the ghetto. Crying. I was born and bred in the ghetto. I know what I'm talking about, you know. I'm from the ghetto. Voices from the ghetto. The sun rises slowly over the hills.
Yes.
Everywhere is gold and sunlight, but
We go
most nights with hotels are crowded. There are days where dark clouds are shrouded. They don't smile and they never will. Only volunteers get the fill. Empty promises is what they hear. No running water from year to year. Hearts that no one desire. That if there is a Messiah, someday he'd hear their whispered prayer. Cover God, help us, Father. Oh Lord, crying, crying the ghetto. A hand to us, Lord. We are not a forgotten people. Hear our prayer. With dented pride, they sold their own. Revolutions, state politicians born. And often their tragic story brings a journalist glory. No wonder they view the world with scorn. From since the day they're born, some call them rebels without a cause. But yet they christen the heroes. Renegades, desperados, forever knocking on heaven's doors. Hear me? And music shatters the silence. Harmony to conquer the violence. Big men run when cops approach, fighting for scraps with the cockroach. Young Turks, they're Turk protecting. Almost every young girl expecting. So tomorrow, beds still a borrow. There'll be another voice from the ghetto. Crying, Lord, crying, voices from the ghetto, crying.
Yes, indeed, of course, pleasant good night to all and sundry. It is, yes, the corridor transformation. We still have, of course, that video issue, but thank God, half a loaf is better than none at all. So therefore, we have the audio part of it, which, of course, we are going to explore and exploit to optimum so that we deliver as we have always promised and have been dedicated thereto. That being as it may, of course, we continue, of course, with looking at the ghetto, looking at those young people, looking at training, and whether or not the government is sincere about this. Of course, its rollout, its sudden rollout of training at the twilight of their existence as a government, and possibly, preferably, a political organization. We will look at that in totality tonight. But of course, let's go straight, of course, to what the offerings in recent times has been. But in the meantime, let's enjoy singing Sandra.
Children to life keep on drifting. It's something they're smoking or sniffing. To forget this life of misery and regret. No one to come to their rescue except Capleton and Boujou. So they boom boxes the Lego. The drum out voices from the ghetto. Voices from the ghetto, crying, crying.
The system seems to be a bit distorted, but nonetheless, we are going to persevere because, of course, as it is said, the longest journey begins with what? A single step, as Confucius would have said. And as a committed and dedicated entity talking about the corridor transformation, I am not going to allow those what I consider to be obscurantists and those who prefer that we do not exist to get in the way. In the meantime, of course, I am going to, of course, let you know that we have started, of course, the corridor transformation right now.
Voices from the ghetto. Help us, Father.
Yes, indeed, of course. That is something a little better than how it was. At least in studio, I was getting that kind of distortion that I felt uncomfortable with. And therefore, I thought behind the scenes, I will go and try to make the adjustment. That being as it may, let's hear once again, in a sense, sort of encapsulating and summarizing what we have been saying over the last 3 days as far as this government is concerned. It is about showmanship. It is about theatrics. It is about histrionics. It is about optimum political benefits, really, without delivering sincerely, and of course speaking to truth and to proper, not just rolling out, but examination have been conjured up and of course delivered, packaged and delivered to the population as if, of course, they were deeply in thought and they were really concerned about the country. No, it is about Balize House, that monstrosity. It is about, of course, kickbacks from various, it be Calco, all of them clearly are in the pockets of, or put another way, the PNM is in their pockets or vice versa. It doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that the PNM is corrupt and they have, of course, taken kickbacks. Otherwise, what will account for the $400 million on the Economic Commission that was developed by Rowley and he questioned, why would you in this time pay $400 million to have a highway to, of course, to Manzanilla? And it turned out to be a highway to nowhere. Only now, of course, they're trying to make entrance and exit. But what we expected, that the highway would have ended up at least inside of Manzanilla proper, it has turned out to be a part and parcel, or should I say, a byway or an access to the main road leading to Sangre Grande and before Sangre Grande, so that the bottleneck that you hope to avoid and neutralize has become intensified, because people may want to use the new road. And so, of course, going into Sangre Grande, you continue to have traffic jam after traffic jam after traffic jam. Waste of time. Not like the UNC. The bypass that the UNC created, avoiding Valencia and going straight onto the Sangre Grande main road via 2 roundabouts, has proven to be a tremendous success and relief to motorists, to commuters, and to residents. Because if you don't have, as you had to before, to pass through Valencia for any reason, you could simply avoid Valencia and go straight, and thus, of course, reducing the amount of traffic that will end up through Valencia and onto the highway. Now, what Rowley and they have done with this 400 million that they announced, unnecessary as Farrell would have said, is that you take that highway and from, of course, Kumuto, and then you deposit it, you empty it on the same, but the upper end, closer to may not want to pass through or to go to Sangregandi. But if they had constructed it as we thought that they would have, then it means, therefore, you could have emptied that road right onto the Manzanilla road itself, and so take people straight on to Mayaro and Guayari. But no, it's about skullduggery and evil and, of course, mismanagement, etc., and not well thought out. It appears that common sense among them is only about dollars and cents. That's all it is about. But let's go straight, of course, and hear Cummins. You don't know if he's coming or going, representing, of course, the government and their nonsense. Let's go straight, of course, to the line. A pleasant good night. Welcome. Welcome, pleasant good night.
Yes, Lennox, I called a little early before the thing started.
I see that.
And all
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Hear you loud and clear. Hear you loud and clear.
Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Go ahead. Loud and clear. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Nice. I called in early before the thing started cut up bad.
Yes, yes,
Anyhow, Lennox, the place hot.
Yes.
I don't know if you're here. I don't know if you're here. I can't remember the Twin Prince and Duke.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how it was.
You know, it's right around the corner from
You
by
heard
me.
anything about that?
Yes. We saw police IPs lower down George Street and, of course, into... Wow.
So this thing is something good at all. People wouldn't want to go in Porter's Spain now.
Obviously.
It's like they're ready to attack the place. Here come like Haiti now.
Yes.
That's running all up the road, opening, and the people get shoot.
I have no information on that aspect of it, whether people got injured or
anyhow,
died.
I focus on this man.
Yes. You focus on this man.
I ain't sure. I just hear it on a talk show.
Yes.
And this, what I tell you is how I hear it.
Yeah. It's correct. It's correct.
Really scary.
Yeah. We saw.
Listen, Lennox, I ain't think I'm going in town in a hurry, you know.
Yeah. Well, precaution is always the best solution to exposure.
But I want to talk about this Gary Griffith.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. That ain't good at all. I want to talk about this Gary Griffith and Ethelbert Hines again.
Yeah.
You know? You see, the U.S. government at the same time with this extrajudicial killing,
Yeah, extrajudicial, yes.
right? And it had a big bacchanal, they say, in its UNC members, but the U.S. never say its opposition. What they said is the police involved with the transporting the migrants when they come in together with the immigration. And they tell them to buck up on that too, with the human trafficking, right?
Yes.
And they told them what they're going to do with them if they don't buck up on this human trafficking. But
Yes.
I ain't hear anything since. And there's been listening, you know, like that Amy Brown and Ethelbert Hines with the conference. The U.S. will talk in a timing, right? They have plenty talking to talk to this country because they will reach. You hear? Story done there with that, you know.
Yeah.
Every friend, he's a wicked man. And we, the citizens of this country, will suffer.
Yes, obviously.
I'm not hearing you, Lennox.
I say obviously,
so
yes.
listen to your off here, Lennox.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, Well, of course, that is our geopolitical interests. Correspond translations or interpretations when the time is appropriate, because after all, Venezuela is indispensable element as far as the politics, as far as the economy of Trinidad and Tobago is concerned, and in particular this government, who of course has placed all its egg in that one bag and gas. And as every other things, like sandals, was supposed to be what? It was supposed to be the foray into tourism. And that, of course, they will be capitalizing on the, should I say, the viability and the well-known brand called sandals. And it has turned out to be pie in the sky. And of course, not a red center for Trinidad and Tobago, even though we were promised by the Minister of Finance that 500 million, $500 million was supposed to come into the Treasury after the construction. Far less for the construction that was supposed to bring a lot of work to Tobago and, of course, by extension, Trinidad, etc. It turned out to be zero. Like many of the other programs that this administration has projected to the population, but turned out to be free. And, of course, having recognized that with increasing dosage and increasing incremental, should I say, potency, the Empowerment Resources Center of the MLS, 3 organizations coming together, one of which, of course, the M referred to Mobile Laventille Improvement Organization, tremendous amount of experience. I'm going to read to you, of course, a correspondent ambassador. I'm going to read to you a correspondence from the British High Commission on the invitation we extended to them to of course, visit the area and to look at our program in its, of course, infancy, in its nascent stage, in its embryonic stage. And I want to tell you one time, I'm going to talk about it tomorrow morning on the ground report as well. Because in the case of the British, well, they were they on our invitation in the past, they came and they looked. We provided, of course, or guaranteed the security, and the police service were very generous in terms of providing security from the embassy or the High Commission to, of course, East Port of Spain and return. It appears that they are extremely cautious, and that in spite of similar arrangements as indicated in our letters, I'm going to read out the letters on the ground report tomorrow, and then again on the corridor in my usual style to convert it into some kind of video so that you have a better understanding, a more comprehensive understanding. But the fact is that it is very troubling that the very thing that we are inviting these high commissioners and embassies and emissaries and representatives of so first, but nonetheless foreign missions resident here in Trinidad, to try to take away the stigma of not, by virtue of their, what is called, of course, their travel advisories against various countries or about various countries to their own citizens who would like to go or visit these countries, including Trinidad and Tobago. The prospects are very troubling. I never expected that. I want to tell you that. The British, of course, told us that they have certain programs that they want, of course, to crystallize before they put in a presence in East Port of Spain. I think that was nice diplomatic language. Having regard to what the Germans said. The Germans said in no uncertain terms, the ambassador assistant who sent me an email, I'll read it out and I'll expose it for you. They said in no uncertain terms that they appreciated the invitation to come and look at what is happening. Because remember, one of the reasons for them coming on our invitation was that to see how the people really operate, and they are not as bad as, of course, in the newspapers or the reports in even international journals and networks. See this particular area in the context of Trinidad and Tobago, notwithstanding We are very conscious that, of course, the networks in the United States see Trinidad and Tobago as per capita amount of international terrorists. Yes, the networks, whether it's Fox News, whether it's CNN, whether it's ABC News, etc., they see Trinidad and Tobago as per capita a small country with 1.5 million people, but per capita we have the most amount of international terrorists in the Western Hemisphere. That is a terrible statement, a terrible international report show that we are the 6th most violent country in the world. Those are not good news. And then you have, of course, a government, instead of looking at these matters, is concerned with their political survivability. And instead, of course, saying what they are going to do new, or what they are going to do differently, or what they are going to enhance, or how they are going to revamp certain mechanisms as far as the law enforcement and the national security apparatus of the country is concerned. Only this morning I had the cause, and I'll say it now as well, that here it is, they have cameras. Let's say good night. Welcome to the corridor. Let's say good night. Welcome to the corridor.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you.
Good night, Lennox.
Good night to you.
Long time no talk.
Yeah, you know how it is.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead, my friend.
What? Like the security apparatus coming on all the fellas now.
Boy, right on the next street next door here.
This PM government, right? They have nothing to run with, you know. Only Gary and he candidacy. Only Gary and he candidacy, and let's waste our time. Minister of National Insecurity, Fitzgerald Hines, come out of that conference, he and Rayburn like if them is the Messiah to preach. What kind of foolish talk them coming with? Two fellas that fall off chair, whole talk, to blame Gary. They want to fixate that on Gary, that he had a squad day, and the squad was carrying out, he directed to lick up people and all these other things. These two imbecile, Rayburn and this foolish Fitzgerald Hines have nothing else to do with their life. So once people get murdered left, right, and center in this country, right under Hines' nose, and he don't take responsibility for that. But he wants Gary to own up to two fellas falling off a chair incident. I mean, I'm sorry to say that the two fellas get killed, they die like that, But at the end of the day, right, these fellas are along rap street too. And it seems to me, they were using the system conveniently to come out, get bail and come out all the time. And the police didn't have enough evidence to jail them. You know, and unfortunately, this Andrea Barrett girl had to die. For others too. But I mean, you dragging something that 4 or 5 years ago and making it look like that happened yesterday. Because the man, if Gary didn't say he can go in for no election, that would have died a natural death. But they have nothing to run on.
Yeah.
They have nothing to run on. The government stinks. Everything falls apart in this place. And you go to the next one to come up, jump on a plane and he go on holiday in. So I mean, autopilot running here now. But they have nothing to go on this country on. We have set out lies and half-truth and misappropriation and all these other things. But he missing all over the place. Money can't come $10 billion and putting it on your churn head to pay back. They wouldn't be paying that back. They might be dead and gone. Have a good day, Lennox.
Thank you very much, of course. And I cannot help but, of course, notice, and nobody should, the level of buffoonery, the level of